we had so much fun. We were equal. You know, that was, I mean, I loved it. We loved it. We worked so well together. We had so much fun. And it really kept us closer longer than I really wanted.
In a recent interview, the host leans in with a mischievous smile and asks Cher if at 80 she still remembers the ones who made her pulse quicken. Cher doesn't flinch. She tilts her head, eyes glittering, and laughs, the kind of laugh that makes the audience shift forward. Then she says it. There are 7 actors she would have broken every rule for. Not just crushes, temptations, faces and voices that could undo her completely. The host eggs her on, and Cher leans closer to the mic, unbothered, unapologetic. One by one, she promises to name them, savoring the tension. And with a sly smile, Cher begins. You know, at my age, truth is a luxury I can finally afford, she says, running a hand through her still perfect hair. I've spent decades with people parsing my every word. Now, I just don't give a damn. The audience erupts, and she waits for them to settle, timing perfect as always. But let's be clear about something. Respect comes first. Always has. Her voice drops an octave, that distinctive Cher timbre that's equal parts honey and gravel. There's a difference between acknowledging desire and disrespecting someone's humanity. I know that line intimately. The room stills at her candor. So yes, I'll tell you about the 7 men who made me forget my own name, but I'll do it my way, with fire, not vulgarity. 1. Marlon Brando, The Thunderstorm. We crossed paths at a party in '74, before Apocalypse, but after Last Tango. The room is thick with cigarette smoke and conversation, but he stands alone near French doors, the garden darkness framing him like a painting. I watch him for 20 minutes before approaching. His talent comes first in my mind, always. The way he disappears into a role while somehow becoming more himself. He's a magician that way, making technique invisible. I tell him this, and he listens with uncommon focus. No polite nodding, no checking over my shoulder for someone more important. Just listening, as though my thoughts on his craft matter. When he finally speaks, his voice is softer than you'd expect. He looks at me with those impossibly deep eyes, and something shifts in the air between us. His fingers brush mine as he takes my drink, deliberate, slow, and the contact sends electricity up my arm. We talk for hours, about music, about the artifice of Hollywood, about the difference between performance and truth. The whole time, there's this current running between us, building with each laugh, each silence. His mouth quirks when he's considering something, and I find myself watching for it, waiting for it, wanting to trace the line of his lips with my fingertip. We part ways as dawn breaks. Nothing happens, not really, but the possibility hangs between us like a taut wire. Sometimes the wanting is more potent than the having. He contained hurricanes, I tell the interviewer now, and I've always been drawn to dangerous weather. 2. Warren Beatty, The Velvet Revolution. I'm at the Chateau Marmont, running lines for a screen test. He's just coming off Bonnie and Clyde, that perfect face still somehow boyish despite everything he's seen. He spots me across the lobby and changes direction mid-stride. What strikes me first is his precision. Each movement, each word seems considered yet effortless. He's studied the craft with a scholar's dedication, mastering the technical aspects while maintaining that impossible natural quality. I respect that immediately, the work behind the apparent ease. During our conversation, I watch how he listens to everyone around us with complete attention, remembering names, details. It's a different kind of talent, but no less impressive. He sits closer than necessary. Not pushy, just present, undeniably magnetically present. His eyes never leave mine when I speak, and there's something intimate about being the focus of that gaze. The air between us feels charged, molecular. His laugh is quiet, but it reverberates through me like bass notes. When he touches my wrist to emphasize a point, his fingers linger a half-second too long. I notice how his cologne mingles with something uniquely him. Warm, expensive, alive. We create a private world in that crowded room, Voices dropping lower, chairs inching closer until our knees are almost touching. He has this way of making you feel like you're both in on some delicious secret. I leave first, deliberately. Sometimes the chase is the whole point. Some men seduce with words, I tell the audience, leaning into the mic. Warren seduced with pauses. 3. Al Pacino, The Contained Fire. It's after The Godfather, but before Serpico when our orbits collide. A cramped theater in New York, some mutual friends' experimental play that neither of us particularly wants to see. We're wedged into neighboring seats, and I'm immediately aware of his energy. Coiled, intense, electric. He's a craftsman of the highest order. I watch his hands during the performance, not the stage, how they flex and release with each emotion crossing the actors' faces. His focus is absolute. I admire that immersion, that commitment to every moment. It's the same quality that makes his performances so riveting. Nothing is throwaway. Everything matters. During intermission, we dissect the first act, and his insights are surgical, passionate. He understands the architecture of scenes, the foundation beneath the visible performance. Then comes the power outage. Mid-second act. The theater plunges into darkness. There's nervous laughter, a few shouts. I feel rather than see him turn toward me. His voice in the darkness is somehow more intimate, the famous rasp closer to my ear than before. Well, this just got interesting, he murmurs, and something shifts. In the darkness, our shoulders touch, then our arms. His hand finds mine without hesitation, a gesture that seems both protective and possessive. The electricity between us makes the power failure seem redundant. When emergency lights finally flicker on, casting everyone in amber shadow, I see his eyes, dark, intent, holding mine with an intensity that makes my breath catch. The play resumes, but we're in our own production now. The brush of fingers, knees touching, the deliberate lean in when he whispers commentary that's really just an excuse to be closer. We part ways outside the theater. A taxi for him, a waiting car for me. Professional commitments in opposite directions. With Al, I tell the now hushed audience, even silence felt like dialogue you couldn't stop listening to. 4. Jack Nicholson, The Inevitable Dare. Studio lot, 1981. I'm between meetings, he's between takes. We collide, literally, turning the same corner from opposite directions. Papers scatter, apologies follow, then recognition, then that smile of his, the one that makes mischief seem like salvation. I'd watched his evolution as an actor, from B-movie horror to Five Easy Pieces to Cuckoo's Nest. The precision of his choices, the way he can communicate volumes with just the slightest shift in his eyes. That day, watching him help gather my scattered script pages, I'm struck by his efficiency of movement. Nothing wasted, everything purposeful. He mentions a scene he's struggling with, and we end up talking craft for an hour, perched on equipment cases in a back lot. His mind works like Quicksilver, making connections I wouldn't see until he illuminates them. It's artistic intelligence at its most seductive. The attraction builds in small moments. The way he leans forward when I make a point he finds interesting. His laugh, that expansive, head-thrown-back laugh that seems to come from somewhere ancient and true. The deliberate way he looks at me, never leering, but never hiding his interest either. There's something liberating about his honesty. When he offers me coffee from his thermos, our fingers brush, and he holds the contact a beat longer than necessary. You know, he says, eyes crinkling at the corners, we should have done this years ago. The air between us shifts, charges. His knee touches mine as he reaches for a page that slipped away. Neither of us acknowledges it, but neither moves away either. In the late afternoon sun, shadows lengthen around us, creating a pocket of implied privacy in the open lot. Studio assistants eventually find him. The director needs him back. As he walks away, he turns once, walking backwards, that grin still in place. Unfinished business, he calls. Jack, I tell the interviewer with a knowing smile, made bad behavior look like the only sensible option in an insane world. 5. Robert Redford, The Golden Hour. Park City, early 90s. The festival is in full swing, but we find ourselves alone in a hotel kitchen at an ungodly hour. Me, unable to sleep. Him, escaping the constant attention. He's making tea when I walk in. The great Robert Redford, steeping chamomile in a paper cup. First comes professional admiration, not just for his obvious talent on screen, but for his vision with Sundance, creating space for independent voices when Hollywood had little interest. He speaks about film with reverence and revolutionary zeal simultaneously. His hands move as he talks, strong, capable hands that have built both characters and institutions from nothing. I find myself watching those hands, imagining them turning pages of a script, adjusting a camera lens, perhaps touching my face. The kitchen is overwarm, pipes humming beneath us. He removes his sweater, and I notice the line of his shoulders beneath a simple white t-shirt. For all his golden beauty, it's his intelligence that draws me in, the thoughtfulness behind those famous blue eyes. We sit at a small prep table, knees occasionally brushing beneath. Each contact sends a small current through me. He has this stillness about him, a centered quality that makes the space around him feel charged. When he laughs at something I say, the sound is rusty, as if rarely used, and I feel unreasonably proud to have coaxed it out. As dawn approaches, our conversation drifts into more personal territory. His voice lowers, creating an artificial intimacy in the industrial space. He reaches across the table once to make a point and lets his fingers rest near mine, not quite touching, but close enough that I can feel the heat of his skin. The kitchen staff arrives at 5. Our private moment dissolves as fluorescent lights buzz to life. Some men, I tell the audience, who hang on every word, glow from within. Redford burned. The audience rustles as I pause, taking a sip of water. The host leans forward, clearly wondering if I'll continue. I smile, knowing the power of a well-timed silence. You know, I say finally, setting down my glass, there's something about restraint that memory adores. The roads not taken become more vivid than the ones we traveled 1,000 times. The camera pushes in slightly as I gather my thoughts. In my business, in life, completion often disappoints. But possibility? I let the word hang. Possibility never disappoints because it never fully arrives. The host nods, understanding something essential about desire and its preservation. The almost moments, I continue, the nearly happened nights, they stay perfect because they remained unfinished. Like scripts never filmed, they exist in a state of perpetual potential. I laugh softly. At 80, I've learned that what we hold back sometimes becomes more powerful than what we give away. 6. Val Kilmer, The Silent Danger. It's a charity event, late 90s. He's recently finished The Saint, and there's something different about him, a new stillness, a concentrated power that commands attention without demanding it. His work has always fascinated me, the chameleon quality, the total immersion. That night, watching him navigate the room, I'm struck by his economy of movement, purposeful, measured, nothing for show. When we're finally introduced, his focus is absolute. No scanning the room over my shoulder, no performative charm, just presence, complete and undivided. He speaks about the craft with unexpected vulnerability, questioning his choices, revealing the machinery behind the magic. This intellectual honesty is surprisingly intimate, more revealing than any physical exposure. The evening progresses, and we find ourselves in a quiet corner of the venue, partly hidden by an absurd ice sculpture. The party roars on around us, but we've created a bubble of quiet intensity. He listens like someone starving for substance in a world of small talk. When he disagrees with something I say, he doesn't interrupt. He waits, considers, then challenges with precision. This respectful combat is more arousing than any easy agreement. His hand occasionally touches my bare shoulder as he makes a point, brief contact that leaves heat in its wake. We stand closer than necessary, voices dropping lower as the space between us shrinks. There's a moment, one perfect moment, when the room seems to fall away entirely. His eyes hold mine, a question forming in them. I feel myself leaning slightly toward him, drawn by something elemental. A waiter drops a tray nearby, shattering the moment along with several champagne flutes. The most dangerous men, I tell the now breathless audience, are the quiet ones who make you forget there's anyone else in the room. 7. Denzel Washington, the distant fantasy. We've never worked together, never properly met. Our worlds have orbited near each other for decades without true collision. But some attractions don't require proximity. I've studied his performances with the eye of both an actor and an admirer. The technical brilliance, how he can shift from stillness to explosion in a heartbeat, how his eyes telegraph thoughts before his body moves. There's mathematical precision in his timing that feels like watching a masterclass every time he's on screen. But beyond technique, there's truth. Undeniable raw truth that can't be fabricated. I respect that more than almost anything in our profession, the courage to be truly seen. From award shows to industry gatherings, I've observed him from across rooms. The dignity he carries, regardless of setting. The focused attention he gives to whoever is speaking to him, whether studio head or production assistant. Once, at a governor's ball, our eyes met briefly across a sea of people, a small nod of recognition, professional respect transmitted in a glance. Nothing more. Yet something in that moment lingered with me. The sense of equal recognition, of mutual seeing. In interviews, I've been struck by his laugh, unexpected and genuine in an industry of practiced responses. The rare glimpses of the man behind the performance. His hands, expressive, strong, gesturing as he speaks about projects that matter to him. I've imagined conversations we might have about the craft, about responsibility, about lasting beyond the moment's glitter. The intellectual spark that might ignite between two people who've survived decades in an industry designed for disposability. Some fantasies remain more powerful precisely because they stay unrealized, preserved in the amber of possibility, rather than tested against reality's friction. The most enduring desire, I tell the hushed room, my voice dropping to almost a whisper, is for the brilliant stranger who remains forever out of reach, close enough to admire, too distant to disappoint. The interview draws to a close. The host, clearly affected by my confessions, asks if I have any regrets. The audience leans forward collectively, hungry for one final revelation. Regrets, I laugh. That familiar throaty sound that's become my signature. About the paths not taken, or the ones I did? I pause, letting the question hang in the air. I've lived a life most people only dream about, on my terms, by my rules. I've loved brilliantly and been loved in return. I've turned down kings and walked away from legends. The camera pushes in tighter as my expression grows more reflective. The beauty of desire is that it never really dies. It just transforms. I straighten, meeting the camera directly. At 80, I'm not finished. Not with art, not with life, and certainly not with desire. The audience erupts in applause, and I wait for them to quiet. Besides, I add with a wink that brings down the house, I've only told you about the actors. Don't get me started on the musicians.